There are moments in life when you realize that not everyone who talks a lot is truly intelligent, and not everyone who acts a lot holds real power. In truth, strength and wisdom lie in how you observe, how you remain silent, and how you learn from what others reveal without even realizing it. In the first 10 seconds, let me tell you a story. There was a person standing still amid the storm of life, saying nothing, reacting to nothing, simply observing. Everyone around was rushing to win, to argue, to prove themselves. But that person, through silence, saw through every fear, ambition, and truth that no one else could perceive. This is the power of wisdom, and you will learn how to grasp it. Life is never simple. Every word, every action, every glance holds multiple layers of meaning that only those who are truly perceptive can recognize. When others think you know nothing, they reveal their ambitions, fears, selfishness, and the deepest shadows they thought no one could see. The wise know how to observe every detail, every small expression, and from that they read the full story that others unwittingly tell. Wisdom does not come from arguing or proving a point. It comes from the ability to remain silent at the right moment, from patience, and from understanding that hasty actions can distort the picture of life. The wise learn to manage their emotions, not letting curiosity, anger, or the desire for revenge drive them. They understand that sometimes standing still and observing is the only way to grasp the truth. There is a big difference between those who speak a lot and those who observe a lot. People who talk excessively often want to prove they are right, that they understand life, that they are strong. But the silent observer, the one who knows how to feign ignorance, truly sees the essence of everything. A fleeting glance, a forced smile, an accidental remark. All are puzzle pieces, revealing the truth about people and the world. Imagine a day when you stand in a room full of show-offs, people eager to prove themselves, the fake and the deceitful. Every eye follows you, every word attempts to sway you. But you remain silent. You only observe. And each detail, each gesture, reveals the truth. The liar exposes their insecurity. The selfish reveals their greed. The manipulator exposes their true motives. Everything is laid bare, and you need do nothing. This is wisdom. Wisdom is knowing how to choose, when to speak, when to remain silent, when to act, and when to stand still. In relationships, you will encounter those who appear strong but are weak. Those who seem honest but conceal ambition. Those who appear caring but see you only as a tool. The wise do not argue or prove themselves. They observe, classify, and decide who is worth keeping close, who should be let go, who to trust, and who to watch. Wisdom also means seeing what others dare not face: fear, selfishness, ambition, or deep weaknesses. When you are perceptive enough not to be swept away by emotions, when you know how to stand still amid chaos, you will see everything clearly. No word, no action can conceal the truth. The wise learn to read people through small details that others consider meaningless. But wisdom does not stop at reading others. It is also about understanding yourself, understanding life, and growing without needing to prove or strain yourself. The wise know that strength does not come from arguing or imposing, but from silence, patience, and letting the truth reveal itself. They learn to manage emotions, observe carefully, and choose when to intervene and when to allow things to unfold. Naturally, in this life, there will be moments when you need to feign ignorance. Not because you are weak, but because you are wise enough not to need to prove anything. Feigning ignorance allows others to reveal their true selves, lets you observe, and helps you understand who is sincere, who is deceitful, who manipulates, and who is trustworthy. Every time you stand still, silently, you are learning a profound lesson. Wisdom is recognizing the value of silence, the value of observation, and the power of not reacting impulsively. In those moments you may feel lonely. You may feel powerless in the face of others' words or actions. But that loneliness is an opportunity to learn, to observe, and to grow. Every small detail, every gesture, every glance is a lesson. And when you are perceptive enough, you will realize. True intelligence is the ability to discern what others wish to hide, and knowing how to use that insight without harming yourself. Wisdom also means understanding that not every conflict needs resolution. Some people will reveal their nature if you remain still. Some will withdraw if you stay silent. You don't need to argue or defend. Just observe and learn. Every time you do, you grow, become less naive, less deceived, and more discerning in choosing friends, timing, and your way of life. In the first 10 seconds, you have already seen the power of silence. And now, as you continue listening, prepare yourself. You will learn the kind of wisdom only those with experience understand. You will learn to distinguish truth from deceit, sincerity from pretense, strength from weakness, all through observation, patience, and knowing when to act. Wisdom is realizing that you do not need to prove anything, impose anything, yet still hold power, understand life, and grow naturally. This is the first lesson, the foundation for everything you will learn in the following sections. Next, we will delve deeper into the principles of living wisely, how to apply them in daily life, and how to avoid the psychological traps that many people fall into. In this moment, let's explore the 100 pieces of wisdom you need to know before it's too late, so that every decision, every action, and every relationship becomes deeper, more meaningful, and more purposeful. Rule 1. Listen more than you speak. True wisdom comes from the ability to observe and listen. Every word, glance, and gesture carries its own message. When you listen instead of just speaking, you can see through the fears, ambitions, and true motives of others. For example, a colleague may boast about their achievements, but through the way they tell the story, you notice their fear of being left behind. This insight is far more important than all the bragging. Rule 2. Control your emotions before reacting. Acting in anger or pride often leads to long-lasting regret. The wise learn to pause, take a deep breath, and observe the situation before responding. When emotions settle, you can see the essence of the issue and act more wisely, avoiding decisions driven by temporary feelings. Rule 3. Choose your friends wisely. Not everyone deserves your time and energy. Good friends will support you in difficult times and bring positive energy. Conversely, negative people will drain you and may even pull you down. Learning to recognize who is sincere and who is opportunistic is an essential life skill. Rule 4. Avoid showing off your knowledge. The wise understand that true competence does not need to be flaunted. Fancy words or boasting often conceal insecurity. Remaining silent at the right moment and taking action at the right time creates quiet strength, allowing you to understand situations fully without arguing or proving yourself. Rule 5. Feign ignorance when necessary. Sometimes, not reacting or pretending to be ignorant is the best way for others to reveal their true nature. A deceitful colleague will reveal themselves through small details if you remain silent and observant, whereas speaking too soon allows them to cleverly hide. Rule 6. Control your greed. Hasty decisions driven by greed often lead to failure. The wise learn to look ahead, consider real benefits, and avoid actions taken only for immediate gratification. For example, rushing into an unresearched investment can result in losing both capital and trust. Rule 7. Do not fear change. Change is inevitable in life. The wise do not fear it, but learn to adapt and find opportunities in every challenge. Accepting change helps you grow and avoids being stuck in habits or toxic relationships. Rule 8. Learn to say no. Wisdom is knowing when to refuse. Agreeing to everything is not always good. Saying no protects your energy, time, and personal values. For instance, accepting every invitation or project that doesn't suit you only creates pressure and distracts you from what truly matters. Rule 9. Value your time. Time is your most precious asset. The wise use it to learn, develop themselves, and build meaningful relationships. Wasting time on meaningless matters, arguments, or unworthy people causes you to lose both opportunities and energy. Rule 10. Learn from failure. Every failure carries a valuable lesson. The wise do not complain or harbor resentment, but analyze the cause, learn from it, and act better next time. Failure is not the end, but a stepping stone to growing stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Rule 11. Observe before judging. The wise always take time to observe every aspect of a situation or person before forming an opinion. An action that seems ordinary may sometimes carry a deeper message. For example, a colleague may always be eager to help you, but frequently gossip behind your back. Only through careful observation, over time will you see their true nature. Hasty judgment often leads to mistakes, whereas observation allows you to understand clearly and make the right decision. Rule 12. Do not compare yourself to others. Each person's life is a unique journey. Comparing yourself to others only brings pressure, envy, and disappointment. The wise focus on self-improvement, assessing progress based on their own standards. For instance, instead of being jealous of a friend's success, learn from how they achieved it and apply those lessons to your own goals. Rule 13. Avoid toxic relationships. The wise know how to recognize and distance themselves from negative relationships. People who exploit, lie, or disrespect you will drain your energy and opportunities for growth. Cutting off negative influences is not abandonment, but a way to protect yourself and make space for better things. Rule 14. Learn to forgive. Forgiveness is not for the benefit of others, but for your own peace of mind. Holding on to resentment only exhausts the soul. The wise forgive to free themselves from the past and focus on the present. For example, someone who once betrayed you cannot change the past, but forgiveness allows you to avoid being trapped in pain and to continue living freely. Rule 15. Invest in yourself. Developing skills and caring for your mental well-being are the wisest ways to prepare for the future. Time and energy invested in yourself always yield lasting value. The wise do not wait for opportunities, they create them through self-development. Rule 16. Control your words. The wise understand that words carry great power. A careless remark can hurt others or damage relationships. Therefore, thinking carefully before speaking, especially in moments of anger or haste, helps maintain respect and credibility. For example, instead of reacting immediately to an insult, remain silent and respond tactfully once calm. Rule 17. Appreciate those around you. Those who accompany, support, and care for you are invaluable assets. The wise know how to cherish and maintain these relationships. A simple thank you or small act of care can strengthen bonds, creating a supportive network in both life and work. Rule 18. Do not hesitate to ask when you don't know. The wise do not pretend to know everything. When facing new challenges, they ask questions to understand better. This habit not only helps avoid mistakes, but but also expands knowledge and relationships. For example, asking the right question at work can help you avoid failure and earn respect. From colleagues, Rule 19. Learn effective time management. Time is your most precious asset. The wise plan. Prioritize important tasks and avoid wasting time on trivial matters. For instance, spending 30 minutes each morning planning can make the whole day more productive rather than being swept along by unimportant tasks. Rule 20. Keep secrets and respect others. Trust is the foundation of all relationships. The wise do not disclose others' private matters or use information to manipulate or harm. By keeping secrets and respecting others, you build credibility, earn trust, and facilitate long-term collaboration. Rule 21. Learn patience. Patience is not about waiting passively, but about maintaining calm, observing and acting at the right moment. The wise understand that success and lasting results take time. For example, when you invest in learning a new skill, you cannot demand immediate results, but patiently pursuing it will yield exceptional value. Rule 22. Know when to say no. Wise. Know that you do not have to agree to everything. Politely refusing helps preserve your energy, focus on important goals, and avoid being exploited. For instance, if a colleague asks you to work overtime without compensation, declining politely but firmly is a way to protect yourself and your rights. Rule 23. Learn to adapt to change. Life is constantly changing. The wise are not rigid but flexible, adapting to new circumstances. When the environment shifts, flexibility allows you to recognize opportunities and avoid risks. For example, when work conditions fluctuate, instead of panicking, they learn, improve skills, and adjust plans. Rule 24. Value failure. Failure is not the end, but a valuable lesson. The wise view failure as an opportunity to learn, improve themselves, and prepare better for the future. For instance, a failed project can help you identify weaknesses and methods that need adjustment, preventing repeated mistakes. Rule 25. Maintain optimism, but stay realistic. The wise combine optimism with a realistic perspective. They recognize challenges but trust their ability to overcome them. For example, when facing financial difficulties, instead of being pessimistic, they analyze the situation, create a detailed plan, and act intelligently to overcome it. Rule 26. Learn to manage emotions. Can lead to poor decisions. All the wise learn to recognize, control, and use emotions to motivate rather than destroy. For instance, in a conflict, instead of reacting angrily, they use reason to analyze the situation and respond effectively. Rule 27. Set smart goals. The wise do not live by temporary impulses, but plan with clear, specific, and measurable goals. Smart goals help them focus energy, reduce waste, and increase the chances of success. For example, instead of aiming to be rich, they set a goal to increase income by 20% within 12 months, and develop a detailed plan. Rule 28. Listen more than you speak. The wise understand that listening is a way to learn and deeply understand others. By listening, you can recognize others' intentions, needs, and emotions without rushing to judgment. For instance, in a meeting, careful listening helps you understand the issue correctly, avoid misunderstandings, and provide accurate solutions. Rule 29. Invest time in important matters. Time is limited, and the wise prioritize important tasks, avoiding scattered energy. For example, dedicating time to learning a skill provides long-term value, far more than endlessly scrolling through social media. Rule 30. Take responsibility. The wise do not blame circumstances or others. They acknowledge mistakes, learn from them, and find ways to improve. For instance, when failing at work, instead of blaming colleagues or the market, they analyze the causes, learn, and adjust their strategy. Rule 31. Recognize the value of silence. Silence is not a sign of weakness, but a way to observe, think, and understand a situation. The wise understand that not every moment requires speaking. For example, in a debate, instead of reacting hastily, they remain silent, listen carefully, and respond at the right moment, giving their viewpoint more weight. Rule 32. Learn to control personal ambition. Ambition is good, but uncontrolled ambition can lead to mistakes. The wise know how to set limits, consider consequences, and maintain integrity. For instance, they may decline a controversial opportunity to protect their long-term reputation. Rule 33. Judge people by actions, not words. The wise evaluate others based on actual actions, not promises or appearances. For example, a colleague may often claim to help, but if their actions are selfish, the wise immediately recognize this and respond accordingly. Rule 34. Learn smart financial management. Money is a tool, not the goal. The wise manage spending, save and invest to secure the future. For example, instead of spending an entire paycheck on temporary desires, they budget, save, and invest for sustainable returns. Rule 35. Learn from others. No one possesses all knowledge. The wise learn from people around them, from books, experience, and even the failures of others. For example, observing how a successful person handles conflict can help you apply similar strategies in your life. Rule 36. Know when to yield and when to stand firm. The wise are neither rigid nor easily imposed upon. They know when to be flexible and when to be steadfast. For example, in relationships, they may compromise on minor issues but maintain core principles, avoiding being exploited. Rule 37. Understand that everything is temporary. Joy, pain, success, or failure is all temporary. The wise do not cling excessively to the past or fear the future. For example, today's failure is merely a stepping stone for improvement tomorrow. Rule 38. Balance, reason, and emotion both are important, but must be coordinated. The wise do not let emotions dominate important decisions. Yet they also consider feelings when empathy or understanding is required. For example, in business, they make decisions based on data but also listen to partners' perspectives to maintain long-term relationships. Rule 39. Practice gratitude and appreciation. The wise appreciate what they have, from family and friends to opportunities, which helps maintain positivity and avoid comparisons. For example, even a simple meal with family is cherished, creating lasting happiness. Rule 40. Ask the right questions at the right time. The right question extracts information, helps understand others, and avoids misunderstandings. The wise know when to ask and choose words carefully. For example, instead of directly asking, "Why did you do that?" they ask, "Could you share the reasoning behind this decision?" which opens dialogue without causing defensiveness. Rule 41. Choose your companions wisely. The wise understand that their environment influences their thoughts and actions. They choose friends and colleagues who bring positive value and share similar goals and principles. For example, instead of spending time with those who gossip or envy, they seek people who inspire and encourage personal growth. Rule 42. Keep promises to yourself. Self-commitment is the foundation of maturity. The wise do not make empty promises, but follow through on what they set out to do. For example, if determined to exercise daily, they follow through consistently rather than skipping days out of laziness. Rule 43. Understand that failure is the best teacher. The wise do not fear failure, they learn from it. For instance, a failed business project can help them identify mistakes in planning, strategy, and risk management, allowing for improvements in future endeavors. Rule 44. Learn to say no. Refusing is not selfish. It is a way to protect your energy, time, and goals. For example, declining an invitation to go out when needing to focus on your career does not make you unfriendly, but helps maintain long-term objectives. Rule 45. Be patient with others. No one is perfect, and everyone develops at their own pace. The wise are patient, avoiding rushing or judging too quickly. For example, when a colleague makes a mistake, they guide and remind instead of reacting angrily, creating a learning and improvement environment. Rule 46. Observe before judging. Careful observation helps avoid misunderstandings and mistakes. For example, when noticing someone acting strangely, the wise seek context rather than jumping to conclusions. Rule 47. Recognize the power of words. The wise understand that words can create opportunities or cause harm. They choose their words carefully, at the right time, and never use them to impose or hurt others. For example, instead of scolding a subordinate, they offer constructive advice. Rule 48. Manage time effectively. Time is a precious asset. The wise prioritize important tasks and avoid wasting time on meaningless activities or negative people. For example, they plan their day, week, and month to achieve high efficiency while still leaving time for themselves. Rule 49. Understand that everyone has their own story before judging. The wise realize that everyone faces their own challenges and struggles. For instance, someone with a quick temper is not necessarily bad. They may be under pressures you are unaware of. Rule 50. Learn from disappointments and loss. Life inevitably involves disappointments. The wise turn loss into lessons rather than complaining. For example, when missing a job opportunity, they analyze the reasons, improve their resume and skills, and prepare to succeed next time. Rule 51. Learn to control your emotions. The wise realize that strong emotions can lead to poor decisions. They pause, breathe, and reflect before responding. For example, when angry at criticism, instead of arguing, they analyze the feedback to learn from it. Rule 52. Understand the value of honesty. Truth always holds lasting value. The wise are honest with themselves and others, even when speaking the truth may be uncomfortable. For example, admitting mistakes to colleagues helps build long-term trust. Rule 53. Know when to give and receive advice. They know when to listen and when to share their perspective. For instance, instead of forcing others to follow their way, they share experiences and let the listener decide. Rule 54. Use failure to grow. Failure is a lesson. The wise remember, learn from it, and avoid repeating mistakes. For example, A failed business project teaches better financial management and planning for the future. Rule 55. Recognize that not everyone is trustworthy. They observe actions, attitudes, and words before placing trust. For example, they do not rush to share important plans with someone newly met, avoiding potential exploitation. Rule 56. Respect others' time and personal space. The wise understand that everyone needs personal time to think, work, and grow. For instance, they avoid pressuring colleagues to respond to emails outside working hours, respecting their workflow. Rule 57. Understand the power of patience. Patience allows them to make sound decisions and avoid regret. For example, they refrain from investing in hasty opportunities and wait for long-term beneficial ones. Rule 58. Practice deep listening. The wise listen not only with ears, but through observation, sensing emotions and intentions. For example, when someone shares a troubling story, they notice not just the words but also facial expressions and gestures to understand more deeply. Rule 59. Maintain calm in the face of adversity. Calmness enables effective problem solving. For instance, during a work crisis, they analyze, plan, and act steadily without panic. Rule 60. Understand that success relies on effort and persistence, not just talent. The wise invest time, energy, and patience. For example, they learn new skills daily, rather than waiting for luck to bring success. Rule 61. Keep your promises. The wise understand that their words reflect their personal value. Breaking promises erodes long-term trust. For example, if they promise to help a friend, even when busy, they follow through to demonstrate reliability. Rule 62. Understand the value of silence. Speaking is not always the right choice. Silence can sometimes be more powerful than words. For example, when provoked, not reacting hastily helps avoid unnecessary conflicts. Rule 63. Distinguish true friends from opportunists. The wise observe behavior and how others act during difficult times to recognize who is trustworthy. For example, someone who helps you selflessly in times of need is a true friend. Rule 64. Understand that money isn't everything. Wealth can make life convenient, but cannot buy happiness, honesty, or trust. For example, a rich but selfish person is often lonely. A modest but kind person is usually admired and loved. Rule 65. Recognize that disappointment is part of growth. Disappointment teaches acceptance, adaptation, and better decision-making. For example, being betrayed at work helps one choose more reliable partners in the future. Rule 66. Learn to face fear. The wise do not avoid fear, but understand it, analyze its cause, and act wisely. For example, if afraid of failure, they plan step by step to minimize risk. Rule 67. Know when to say no. The wise understand their limits. For example, they refuse tasks unrelated to their priorities to focus on important goals. Rule 68. Accept that no one is perfect. The wise accept their own and others' mistakes. For example, when a colleague makes an error, instead of getting angry, they guide and support improvement. Rule 69. Use time wisely. They do not waste time on meaningless activities. For example, instead of watching countless entertainment videos, they spend time learning new skills, reading, or personal development. Rule 70. Know how to control your words. The wise think before speaking. For example, when offering criticism, They choose gentle and constructive words instead of being offensive to achieve better results. Rule 71. Understand that happiness comes from contentment, not being excessively greedy and knowing what is enough. Brings peace and allows focus on self-improvement. For example, instead of comparing themselves to others, they focus on personal growth. Rule 72. Learn to enjoy the present moment. The wise live fully in the moment, not controlled by past or future. For example, during a walk, they notice the scenery, sounds, and feel each step consciously. Rule 73. Recognize that relationships require trust. Trust is the foundation of lasting relationships. For example, they do not immediately trust someone new but observe actions before opening up. Rule 74. Learn from others. The wise see value in others' experiences without arrogance. For example, they learn management skills from experienced colleagues instead of making mistakes on their own. Rule 75. Understand that health is the greatest asset. Without health, all success is meaningless. For example, they exercise, eat balanced meals, and get enough sleep to maintain performance. Rule 76. Manage money wisely. The wise spend responsibly, invest smartly, and avoid unnecessary debt. For example, they budget, save, and choose safe investment opportunities. Rule 77. Control envy clouds judgment. The wise see others' success as motivation, not a threat. For example, when a colleague is promoted, they focus on improving their own abilities. Rule 78. Learn from others. Failures. The wise observe others' mistakes to avoid repeating them. For example, seeing a business partner fail due to poor financial management teaches them valuable lessons. Rule 79. Keep promises long. Broken promise diminishes credibility and trust. For example, if you promise to help someone, fulfill it even when it's difficult. Rule 80. Turn pressure into motivation. The wise do not fear pressure. They transform it into energy to act effectively. For example, when facing a tight deadline, they make a detailed plan to complete work efficiently and with quality. Rule 81. Know how to forgive. The wise understand that forgiveness is not because others deserve it, but to find inner peace. For example, when betrayed, they forgive so as not to be burdened by the past. Rule 82. Know how to manage emotions. Excessive emotions can lead to mistakes. The wise pause, breathe, and think before reacting. For example, when angry, they write down their feelings instead of shouting. Rule 83. Ask questions at the right time. The right questions help to learn and understand issues deeply. For example, in a meeting, ask about strategy instead of pointless objections. Rule 84. Choose your life partner and relationships wisely. The wise look at values, attitudes, and life goals. For example, they choose companions who share similar goals, not based on temporary emotions. Rule 85. Know how to accept change. Life is always changing. The wise do not resist, but adapt and seek opportunities in change. For example, when changing jobs, they learn new skills to adjust. Rule 86. Speak the truth. Wise. Honesty is powerful, but it should be shared wisely. For example, give feedback to colleagues to help them improve without embarrassing them. Rule 87. Recognize that failure is a valuable lesson. The wise do not fear failure. They learn to do better. For example, after a failed project, they analyze the reasons to succeed next time. Rule 88. Respect others. Time. Respecting time builds credibility and relationships. For example, arrive on time and prepare well for meetings. Rule 89. Maintain privacy. The wise understand that not everything needs to be shared. For example, keeping personal and sensitive information private prevents misuse. Rule 90. Admit and correct mistakes. Acknowledging errors reinforces credibility and fosters learning. For example, when a report is wrong, they admit it and fix it immediately. Rule 91. Evaluate opportunities before acting. The wise do not act blindly. For example, before investing, they research thoroughly, calculate risks, and ignore rumors. Rule 92. Balance. Work and rest. Productivity comes not only from continuous work but also from good health and mental clarity. For example, taking breaks and exercising helps maintain sharpness. Rule 93. Let go of what is not worthwhile. Not everything needs to be held onto. For example, they let go of toxic relationships or unsuitable jobs to focus on what matters. Rule 94. Inspire others. The wise spread positive energy. For example, they encourage colleagues to grow instead of criticizing them. Rule 95. Patience is key. Big achievements take time. For example, when learning a new skill, they practice patiently instead of giving up. Rule 96. Think ahead and see the big picture. The wise anticipate consequences before acting. For example, they make financial decisions based on long-term outcomes, not just immediate gains. Rule 97. Influence without imposing, instead of ordering. They lead by example and guidance. For example, managers guide teams through practice and advice rather than force. Rule 98. Enjoy simple pleasures. The wise do not need to show off. They find happiness in small things. For example, enjoying a cup of coffee, listening to music, or taking a walk. Rule 99. Understand that everything is impermanent. Life changes, and the wise accept it. For example, possessions, reputation, or emotions can disappear, so they do not cling tightly. Rule 100. Knowledge is infinite power. Continuous learning helps people grow. For example, reading books, listening to experienced people, or learning new skills allows them to constantly upgrade themselves. And these are the 100 wise principles you should know in life before it's too late. Each one is not just a catchy phrase, but a lesson, an experience, and a profound life philosophy that you can apply every day. When you truly reflect on and put these principles into practice, you will notice yourself growing wiser, stronger, and more discerning in understanding people, handling situations, and living fully with yourself. These pieces of wisdom remind us that life is not always easy or fair, but the way you think, the choices you make, and the way you respond are what truly determine your peace and happiness. Learning to observe, knowing when to remain silent, understanding others and choosing the right friends, maintaining self-respect, even when the world around you is chaotic. All of these are small but powerful steps toward intelligence and maturity. Each lesson among these 100 principles is like a puzzle piece. When you put them together, you see the complete picture of a wise life, a life where you are no longer easily deceived, where you can discern who is sincere, who takes advantage, who is honest, and who is merely pretending. This is knowledge, gained through experience, strength forged by challenges, and subtlety refined through moments of silence and observation. Remember, wisdom does not come from arguing or proving yourself, but from understanding, patience, and the ability to choose what truly matters. Wisdom is knowing how to stay calm in the face of temptation, remaining silent when words are useless, and acting at the right moment to create a positive impact for yourself and those around you. Thank you for taking the time to absorb all 100 of these wise principles. Every minute you spend reflecting and paying attention is a step closer to becoming the best version of yourself. If you find these insights valuable, please subscribe to the Life Wisdom channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming videos. We will continue to bring you profound lessons, real-life experiences, and valuable life philosophies to help you grow wiser, stronger, and more discerning each day. Live wisely, observe carefully, and make smart choices, because in this life, only those who know how to learn, grow, and see ahead can truly master their journey.